Hey everyone, it's Dr. Zora here and welcome to another skill cap guide. In this video, we're going to be reviewing mouse grips and identifying the best way that you should be gripping your mouse to aim better in Valorant. Mouse grips are a topic that is not discussed as much as they should be, and having the right grip can be crucial to maximizing your aim and therefore getting more kills in Valorant. By the end of this guide, you'll have learned the most common mouse grips available, such as the palm grip, claw grip, and fingertip grip, and how to identify the best grip for you to use to aim like a Radiant player. First up, let's review some of the basics on how you should be holding your mouse. In order to ensure that you can shoot and react as fast as possible, regardless of what grip you use, make sure your fingers are on the mouse buttons themselves. There are some players who like to keep their fingers raised up off the buttons, and this increases the distance that your finger has to travel in order to perform a click, thus taking longer for you to fire a shot. It's a difference of milliseconds, but in a fast moving game like Valorant, those milliseconds can be the difference between life or death. Along with that, make sure that the palm of your hand is making contact with the mouse pad. Now you may be thinking that having the palm here is going to increase the friction that you have to deal with, and so some players believe it's better to raise the palm up so it's floating in the air and you're able to move more freely. While this may be true, the issue that arises is that you'll have to potentially change your grip to something more uncomfortable and less optimal in order to put your palm up, or you may end up getting more muscle fatigue as you're actively trying to prevent your palm from touching the mouse pad. We recommend keeping the palm on the ground as it tends to be more comfortable for people. The muscles in the hand and forearm are more relaxed, plus this position helps to anchor the wrist, which helps to give more control of your mouse and aim. Lastly, before we get into the actual types of grips, we need to discuss about your hand size and what size mouse you have, which will heavily determine the right grip that you should be using for it. To measure your hand size, the length goes from the wrist to the tip of the middle finger, and the width goes from the knuckle of the thumb to the knuckle of the pinky finger. As a general frame of reference, a 18cm by 9cm hand size is good for gripping a medium-sized mouse. Anything below these numbers are better for gripping small-sized mice, and anything bigger are better for gripping large-sized mice. With that being said, you're likely now wondering how big these different mouse sizes are. We won't go into the specific dimensions of each, but to give you some reference for these sizes, an example of a small mouse would be the Glorious Model O- or the Razer Viper Mini. A medium-sized mouse would be the Glorious Model O, Glorious Model D, or the Razer Viper Ultimate or G Pro Wireless. Lastly, a large mouse would include the Logitech G502 and the Razer Death Adder. If you have any of these mice, then perfect, you now know what size mouse you're currently using. If you don't know, take a look at your mouse's dimensions and compare them to the ones we just listed to identify which category your mouse falls into. For example, in terms of comfort, a large mouse may feel better with a palm grip, or a smaller mouse may feel better with a claw grip. Now that we know the mouse size, we can now move on to the different grips that you can use. First up is the palm grip, which statistically is the most common grips that players use. We'll pop up a picture to show what it looks like. As the name suggests, most of your palm is resting on your mouse along with most of your fingers. This is likely the most natural way that someone will approach gripping the mouse, and it has many pros to it. First off, a palm grip is very good for tracking enemies. With a large majority of your hand on the mouse, you can smoothly glide it around to get to the right spot. With this grip, you are also able to fully utilize your elbow and shoulder plus your wrist, allowing you to use the entire arm when you're aiming. By allowing you to use your entire arm to aim, you can then use lower sensitivities, which will allow you to be more precise with your aim. Lastly, this is the most relaxed grip you can use, which decreases the tension that your hand will experience. There aren't any muscles that need to be constantly active to hold up your grip, so you won't be as easily fatigued. The biggest con with the palm grip though is that you won't be able to use your finger muscles as much. With your fingers flat on the mouse, you won't be in as good of a position as some of the other grips to click in rapid succession, which could be useful when you're trying to use weapons such as the pistol in Valorant that require you to make those quick clicks. Along with that, the palm grip can be tougher to make those micro adjustments to your aim. You're going to have to rely more on your wrist for these small tweaks and have less ability to use your fingers. This isn't as apparent when you're adjusting your aim side to side, but going up and down will be tougher to do without full utilization of your fingers. Players that are using a large mouse will likely use a palm grip like we just mentioned, as the other grips make it harder for them to get to the mouse clicks. However, there are still a fair number of players that use the palm grip as well on a medium-sized mouse. Next up is the fingertip grip. This is usually the second most popular grip that players use. With the fingertip grip, only the tips of your fingers are on the mouse as well as a portion of your palm. This is usually a potential option for players to use regardless of what mouse size they have. There are several pro Valorant players who use this grip, such as Scream from Team Liquid and Wardell from Team Solo Mid. The pros with this grip is that it allows you to move your fingers and wrists in a more free manner. This allows you to better make micro adjustments in all directions, side to side or up and down. The ability to move the mouse vertically with your fingers is the biggest pro with this grip. If you're slightly above or below the enemy's head, you can better move your mouse to make the necessary correction. There are a few cons with the fingertip grip though, but none of them are really that major. One of them is that you'll usually end up relying more on your wrist and fingers to aim compared to your entire arm. While these are certainly good for small aim adjustments, it's not so great for getting those smooth long distance flicks and aim adjustments. This can then make smoother movements slightly more difficult to achieve the way you'd like. Along with that, keeping your fingers slightly up in this position can be slightly fatiguing for the hand muscles. However, this usually isn't a big deal since the amount of lift is usually quite minimal. Lastly, while this grip does give you more maneuverability vertically on the mouse, it still doesn't provide the full upward maneuverability as you don't have much room to extend your fingers to move the mouse up since the fingers are already pretty straight. Going into our third grip, we have the claw grip. With this grip, the fingers are further curled and essentially hiked up on the mouse buttons. The biggest benefit to using the claw grip is that extra additional range of motion that you can utilize from the fingers. With a claw grip, you can move your mouse downwards just like you can with the fingertips, but since the fingers are more bent, you have more room to also move the fingers upward. This extra finger maneuverability, along with using your wrist, elbow, and shoulder together, will really maximize all the options you have to make those micro adjustments or macro adjustments to your aim. The biggest con with this grip though is that it can be very fatiguing. You constantly have to keep your finger flexion muscles contracted in order to maintain this grip style, and that constant aggressive contraction can potentially tire you out and stiffen up the fingers and wrists the longer you play. With the claw grip, you'll really have to weigh the pros and cons to determine if it's the right grip for you. Along with that, you may steer more towards the claw grip if you have a smaller mouse where it can be tougher to hold it with the palm or the fingertip grip. With the claw grip being said, we have now reviewed the 3 most common grips that people use, but I do want to give a special mention to the 1-3-1 grip. This grip isn't very commonly used, but it can be another option for players to try out if the normal fingers on top of the mouse isn't very comfortable or you don't feel like your aim is very good at it. The numbers for this grip name represent the number of fingers on the left side of the mouse, the top of the mouse, and the right side of the mouse. For this grip, you're going to put your index finger on the left mouse button, the middle finger on the scroll wheel, and the ring finger on the right mouse button. By having these 3 fingers on the mouse, it can give you a better sense of being centered on it versus having only 2 fingers where it can feel off to have only your thumb hanging on the left side, but then having 2 fingers resting on the right side. There aren't really any big pros or cons to this grip versus the 1-2-2 grip that most players use, but it is worthwhile to mention as some pros such as TenZ from Cloud9 do use it and they have insane aim results. Now that we have all these grips explained, which grip is the best one to use? This is a huge depends question as it really comes down to comfort, but based on the pros and cons that we've gathered, there are 2 grips that are clearly more advantaged over the others, and those are the fingertip grip and the claw grip. These 2 grips add that extra functionality of the fingers that can be underestimated for those vertical mouse movements. Along with that, they can also assist the wrist with the side to side movements. You essentially get an additional set of muscles that help you aim. The elbow and shoulder can be used for all grips and are helpful for those big movements that you may need to do, but from there, the wrist is good for the micro adjustments, but the fingers can be even better at creating even tinier precise movements, again particularly in the upward and downward direction. Looking through the grips that the pros used, we found that the majority of them use either the fingertip and claw grip versus the palm grip, which tends to be the most popular amongst the regular players. And this is likely because it usually is the most comfortable and natural grip that people go to. Comfort unfortunately isn't completely correlated with maneuverability though. With these statistics and anatomical advantages, we suggest that players use the fingertip or claw grip to really maximize their aim potential to get more kills and climb the ranks in Valorant. Alright, so on a scale of 0 to 10, what grip are you currently using for your mouse in Valorant? Let us know in the comment section below. We here at SkillCap want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.